Hi everyone, I'm Rachel Olshan. I'm Director of Career Services here at LeTourneau University. Today we're going to go over how to build your resume. A lot of people don't even know where to start, so hopefully you'll leave here today and have a better idea of what to do, or if you're kind of further along in the process, maybe you'll have some ideas on how to edit or format things to get your resume ready for the career fair. Here's our information. We are located in the Allen Student Center, the first floor. We have office hours from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. It's myself and Susan Frantangelo, which I'll show you her lovely picture at the end of this. And you can reach us via email at careerservices@letu.edu, or give us a call or go to our website. So when we get to talking about resumes, the first thing I really encourage people to do is kind of reframe that process. You may know nothing about it, so it's important to get as much information as you can, so hopefully that's why you're watching this. I like to kind of think of student development and career services kind of as a pyramid, right? So ground level, we want to help kind of get to know you and ultimately for you to know yourself. The next, we want you to explore, look into different options, look into different possibilities. Next is to get prepared in terms of your job and what you're wanting and where you're wanting to live and what you're wanting to do with your life. And then last is to land that job. We want to help you get to that point of where you have landed your job, you're secure, and where you're going after you get done with school. And so that's really kind of the process, our little triangle of how I want students to kind of think about even just starting your resume. It really foundationally has to start with knowing yourself. How do I do that? How do I get to know myself better? The first is, I would say, develop relationships with faculty, staff, friends, and have conversations. Have honest, helpful, critiquing conversations of, hey man, I know you are great at this, and yet you also have an opportunity to grow in this, and receive that feedback. We want to help you be your best, and so sometimes that's just through a conversation. Another thing we offer is called Focus 2. We also have the MBTI, which both are assessments that you can take online here at LeTourneau. Those are going to help kind of take into your temperament, your personality, your skills, your values, things that you're passionate about, and kind of help give a little more of a picture on where those skills may be used at in terms of your job field. Next is you explore. This is going to be your interview prep. This is going to be your resume. These are the things to help get you ready for that interview. And then lastly, when you land it, we want to help you know how to negotiate, know how to advocate for yourself in that process. Okay. When we think of your resume, a lot of people think of it as kind of archaic, like it used to be, your dad's resume, right? But here are some kind of up and coming trends and things to think about as you start your resume process. A lot of times nowadays, jobs descriptions are longer. They are going to encompass more, and yet your resume are shorter, right? Like you're told kind of classic, like one page, and right now that's still kind of accurate, but as you grow in your experience, going to 2 pages is okay. There's customized resumes and cover letters that are customized and required, right? So don't just send the same resume to every job. Alter it, customize it. Same for your cover letters. Your marketing is your resume is your I can speak. Your resume is your marketing document, right? So it is that blurb, it is that 15-second elevator speech that is really only going to get looked at for a brief amount of time. So we want to make it pop, we want to make it represent who you are. And lastly, I want you to think about who are you writing this to and who your reader is, and kind of tailor that. Is it someone in HR? Is it a real life person? Most likely it'll get filtered through some things, but then it will be a real person that looks at your job, your resume. Outline. So here's one thing you gotta think about. A lot of people just go on Word and pick out a template and they marry that template, and that's their resume template for the rest of their lives. It does not have to be that way. Don't get hung up on just using a certain template. It's important to organize and brainstorm and have kind of a set plan of what you want to put, what skills you have, how it's going to be organized, and ultimately that's going to be several drafts. I would not recommend just putting something together and that be your final draft. We need people to look at it. We need people to give opinions, and hopefully you can do that and come here and get some feedback. Okay. Identifying your skills. A lot of us want to be humble, right? We don't want to brag. But this is your opportunity to go in there and show that employer that you are the best person for this job. And so some of that is going to require you to take inventory, right? Going back to awareness, you're going to have to take inventory of who you are and what you've done and kind of create this experience for readers, right? Create an inventory of your experience. So that's your job, education, any internships, volunteer work, class projects, leadership opportunities. I mean, think about what you've done since high school, in college, all these different things. So kind of create this timeline, this inventory of things that you've done, and then be able to ask yourself, what special skills or knowledge do I need to be successful, especially in whatever job you're applying for. Let me give you an example. So I am a licensed professional counselor. I have been since 2011. I've worked in counseling settings off and on since 2011. I've also worked in higher education. So right now, my job as Director of Career Services is a higher education job within student life here at LeTourneau. Now let's say I want to get back into counseling full time. On my resume, I have a section of my work experience that is higher education. It's all the things I've done within higher ed. I have another section that's counseling, right? So every counseling position that I've had. If I'm applying for a counseling job, I'm going to move that counseling section basically on that front page. So that is the first thing that they see, that I have these functional skills that are applicable to the job that I'm applying for. So if you see that second blurb, it says functional skills related to people, information, or things that are transferable from one field to another. I also have professional skills within that blurb, right? They're technical. They're skills that I've done with specific jobs, and I'm able to show the employer, hey, this is what I've done, this is what I'm doing. They're functional, they're professional, they're technical, and it's right there for them to notice. So we don't want to just send the same resume all the time to every employer. Okay, so let's kind of go through here. I mentioned technical, professional. Those are related to a specific job training, right? So if you use specific programs, or if you were specifically trained in human resource management and you were applying for an HR job, you would absolutely want to be very clear and vocal about those type of skills. Functional, like we said, skills related to people, information, or things that are transferable. So if you worked as a au pair, you had to take care of a child, you had to prepare dinner, you had to do laundry, you had to keep organized, you had to keep a schedule. Those are transferable skills, right? Personal or adaptive skills that represent your style of working, often called personal traits or self-management skills. So if you are driven, if you are dedicated, if you are loyal, if you are hardworking, if you are a team player, those are all personal and adaptive skills that you could include when you list skills. Next, we need to think and link. So we need to think about employers' needs and link those skills to your needs. So if an employer is looking for someone who has experience in team management and leading teams, that would be something that you could then think about, okay, what have I done in the past that has led a team, right? What can I put on my resume that shows I can lead a team of X, Y, and Z and get things accomplished? it's important to research, right? That's that prepare. We want to look into what the job description is. We want to look into the company. We want to see what their mission statement is. We want to see what their values are, and see if it's a good culture fit. You know, if you have very strong beliefs about, let's say, the environment, and you want to be working for a company that values the environment, you may not find a good fit in, you know, a waste management company, right? Like that just fills landfills all day, right? Like that probably wouldn't be a good fit. So you need to think about those type of things. As we move forward, in terms of organizing your resume, like I mentioned earlier, they only look at your resume very briefly. It is a 10 to 20-second window that they will give, on average, your resume a look. Okay, so keep that in mind. And you need to think about personal information, your objective, your education, your experience. Those are really crucial things to think about what goes into your resume. So we want them to be able to get in touch with you. So you can put your phone number, you can put your address, you can put your email. Some people put their LinkedIn. Like those are great things to put on your resume. Your objective, you want to tell that employer the type of job you want so that they can evaluate your resume. Some people will then put a professional summary, which is it's similar but yet different. An objective is stating exactly what type of job you want. I am looking for an entry-level job in mechanical engineering, right? Like that tells you what they're looking for. On my resume, I have a executive summary that kind of just gives them a 2-sentence blurb about who I am, what I'm passionate about. Education usually comes first since that's what they look for, right? They need to make sure that you have the degrees that you say you do to meet the criteria for this position. And then experience, you can section different highlights that you've done in your work to help service that job and make sure that you can do what they've asked you to do. And remember that experience section I talked about, I had my higher ed section, I had my counseling section. You can move some of those sections to make sure that they're highlighted and they're able to look at that in that 10 to 20-second window. Lastly, well, not really lastly, we got a few more slides. You need to organize your resume and include some other things like honors awards, leadership, computer skills, volunteer, research, any military experience, language proficiencies, publications, presentations, things like that. Some of this may be hard. You're like, I don't want to brag, but we need to show that we're awesome, right? No, I'm just kidding. But you need to show what you've won, and you should be proud of those things and want to display them on your resume if that applies to you. It's also, it shows a little more just about who you are and the things that you've accomplished. And so you may want to include some of these. You don't have to include all of them. Remember length, we got to keep it for now to a page, but I understand if you want to include some of these things. All right, so when we go to our jobs, when we think about how we're going to describe our experience, I want you to use a PAR statement. So first we talk about the problem, then we talk about the action that was taken, and then the results, right? What came from this situation? What came from the actions taken? So we want to use those type of statements in putting kind of in descriptive things about your job. You want to omit anything that is understood by the title. So if you were the coordinator of such and such, don't just put coordinated such and such, right? We need to expand on that. We don't need to ask, or we don't need to state those things that are kind of obvious. I encourage you to ask yourself 2 questions. What did I accomplish or initiate in this job or activity? And what would my future employer care about this job or activity? So for example, I still have on my resume that I designed and implemented a wellness program at the previous university that I was at, and that university still uses that wellness initiative. I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I initiated it. I'm proud that I crafted it. I designed it, and I'm glad that it's still going and helping to serve students. So I think that's kind of an example of a PAR statement. We saw what the problem was, we took the action, and the result is a long-term successful running program. Helpful descriptions, style, use action verbs and omit personal pronouns. So we don't need to say, I worked at da 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 da. I served ice cream every day. I ran the cash register. We don't need to say things like that. Action verbs are really important on the resume guide, which hopefully y'all have seen or have accessed via PDF online. It has a whole 2 pages of action verbs. So instead of saying, I worked at Dairy Queen serving customers ice cream, you could say, that you operated the machine and served clients at Dairy Queen, right? Like there's a whole 2 pages of better words to say that are action verbs instead of just saying the basic like I worked or I did this. We want to make it a rich sentence for for your employers to read and be impressed by, right? Be specific. So describe equipment used, duties, languages, purposes of your action. So if you say, I helped set up events, what all does that mean? That's a little vague because in setting up an event, there could be 100 different things that you did. So be specific. Lastly is to quantify, so identify the number of people, products, and profits involved. So let's say you run a business and you increased your revenue by 10% last year and you want to highlight that, you absolutely should. You should be able to identify the profits and the increase and the amount of people. Let's say you're a supervisor and you supervise 40 people, that's important to know. Okay, your final draft. So we want things to look appealing. We know resumes are always going to look somewhat the same. We want to be taken seriously. If you're a marketing major, it's hopefully something creative and that they can see your skills in that. If you're a biology major, I wouldn't use like a lime green font or things like that. It's more of a serious field, but we do want to be visually appealing. Okay. We also want to highlight our strengths and we want to minimize our weaknesses. So in your final draft, your style, be concise, use phrases versus sentences. So we don't need to have a whole ramble of a sentence or two when we are describing our skills, and I'll show you all that in a minute. Format, control the reader's eye, use white space effectively, organize from the most important to the least important, and then production, length should correspond with experience, use color only if appropriate, and make resume technology friendly. PDFs are the best way to go. They're not able to be edited, and it's really the best way to go. So a PDF is ideal. Your resume has one purpose, and that's to get you a job interview, right? So here are some things not to include: age, race, religion, gender, national orientation, marital status, salary history, photos, physical descriptions. We don't want to, put our salary history. One thing I didn't skip over on purpose, but whoops, now I can't go back. I'll still talk on it though. Names of references. We do not need to put references on our resume. If you really, really want to, you can put at the very bottom references upon request, but you don't even need to do that. You can have a separate document of your references, okay? So here's a template. I know I said you don't have to be stuck on a template, but these things have, kind of the format I would like to see. First name, last name, your address, your email, your phone number, everything's listed on there. Education is first, related experience, volunteer experience, skills, other work experience. So you can see they make good use of like the white space. And then our next one, they also made great use of their white space. There is an objective, There's the education, the engineering experience, university project experience, skills, and then other work experience. It's important to have dates listed. It's important to list President's Award, academic honors. I will say, if your GPA is not a 3.5 or higher, I would not put your GPA on your resume. Especially after you graduate, no one really cares that you had a 4.0. They care that you can get your job done. I know you're proud of your 4.0 and you should absolutely be proud of your 4.0. But once you kind of get your first job and move out of college, you don't need to keep your GPA on there anymore. Okay. Lastly, when you kind of come to your final draft, I want y'all to be able to know what to do with it. Okay. Handshake is our career services platform. I want you to be able to go on Handshake, upload your resume, make it featured on your profile, and put it out there so employers can look at your resume and they can be like, that's great, this kid's done a lot, we want to look into him, and they may request to reach out to you. So if you haven't activated Handshake, there's this QR code. You can take a picture of it, activate it. We have different resources, different opportunities that are all going to be posted on Handshake for you to help develop in your career process. Okay. Lastly, we have drop-in resume hours. We have resume on the spot. So every Wednesday in September from 1 to 4 p.m. I will be in my office. I will be helping you. You can stop by 10 to 20 minutes. We'll do some quick adjustments and edits, and we'll be on our way. Okay. If you can't make any of those Wednesday times, we have resumes on the spot. Thursday, September 12th, Tuesday, September 17th, and Thursday, September 26th. We want to get y'all ready for the career fair, and this is a great way to make sure your resume is to its final draft, right? If you ever need anything, I'm Rachel Olshine. Susan Frantangelo is our program coordinator. We are here in the Student Center, and we want to help you move on. We love you being at LeTourneau, but we want to help you move on to what comes after college, and hopefully that's finding a career and something you're passionate about. Thanks for listening, and I hope y'all have a great day. Thanks.